Hi, and welcome to the Merryweather Knitting Podcast. My name is Gabriella, and I'm coming to you from my home in Germany, where I've snuck away for a little while to chat with you about all of my knitting and crafting and creative inspiration of the last week. I hope that you'll get cozy and maybe get something to work on, maybe get something to drink, and join me for a little bit of this kind of creative chat. This week I have something to drink, which is why I'm mentioning it. I often sit down. Whenever I sit down, I feel like I carry something with me, which I think many of us do. But often I don't talk about it because, I don't know if you're interested or not, but today I'm drinking something very special. So I'm going to share it with you. And that is I'm drinking Ticino today, which is something that's very special for me. Because this is an herbal coffee. I think it's just an herbal coffee brand that is in the US. I don't know if it's other places in the world. Maybe it is. I know herbal coffee exists in other places. I think it exists here in Germany too, but I've never found something quite like this because this is it's like kind of herbal coffee, which I think it's I don't know if it's chicory or what it is, what kind of roots are in there making this kind of coffee flavor, but it's like tea, and they have hazelnut flavors and vanilla flavors, and it really gives you this kind of coffee feel without being coffee. And my grandmother, who lives in the States, though she is originally from Argentina, she's Argentine, but she lives in the States, and as just my grandfather with her, they don't drink coffee anymore, but they drink this Ticino tea after lunch. And whenever I go to their home and they offer it to me, I just love drinking it. It's such a special, special treat to me. It really reminds me of being there with them in their home. I think it's so delicious. And it's just something else, something that's not coffee and something that's not really, to me, quite tea either, because of this kind of more warm, I don't know, not warm isn't maybe the right word, but more, it's just a deeper kind of flavor. And this grandmother of mine, she would always have tea time when I was younger. She would drink tea every afternoon. And I think she still does drink tea every afternoon. And she would just have the most beautiful setup of tea time when I was little, and made it such an event for me when I was really little. Some of my earliest memories. So I feel like she taught me to love to drink tea. I'm telling this whole story, but I just absolutely love memories associated with her, and whenever I visit her, I'm so excited to enjoy some of this Ticino tea. So she sent me home with a box of it because she knows that I love it. So she sent me back to Germany with quite a lot, and every once in a while I brew one and I just savor every sip. Today I'm drinking it in this little beautiful teacup, which is a golden teacup. I've shown it here before on the podcast. You see, it has a little pair of lovers on the front, a lady and kind of her lover playing the lute for her. At least I think they're lovers, because my husband Nick is a musician and a guitarist, and often he plays the guitar for me, and it's very romantic. So I kind of feel like this is us on the cup. There we are in a different life, in a kind of more, I don't know, Baroque, Rococo lifetime. I don't know if this is Baroque or Rococo or what you would call this. My husband Nick could tell you that because he also studied art history for a while, and he knows a lot about art history. So he could tell me, and maybe I will ask him later. And maybe I'll put the correct answer here below. But anyway, I really love this teacup, and it's really special. And I'm using this little miniature teapot to pour and to hold the beautiful tea Ticino. I love this teapot. I really, really think it's really cute. Anyway, on to the knitting and on to the crafting content. Today I have a couple of projects to show you, I have one kind of newish project to show you. And I also have something else to share with you, which is a book that I've been reading. And it's not quite knitting related, so I'll put that at the end in the kind of more personal, off-topic chat. I'll call it the inspiration segment because I think it's a very inspiring thing that I'm reading, and I really wanted to share with you what I've been learning from it, and I just think it's been a lot of fun. So on to the knitting though. The newish project that I've been working on this week is the one that I'll start with today. And that is one that I think I've shared it before. I shared it before because it is one of my projects from my Make 9 2021 Make-Along board, which the Make 9 2021 MAL is a make-along that's being held and hosted by Amy of Noble Character Crafts. Noble Character Crafts is a podcast and Etsy shop, which is amazing, both obviously run by Amy. And I wanted to put something in my board for the year that was kind of related to scrappy projects. And right now there are amazing scrappy projects being made, and there's lots of inspiration I've been getting for scrappy projects. And a couple of times in the past couple of months, I've considered kind of frogging this project and starting afresh with a different kind of scrappy blanket design. A kind of scrappy design with all of my miniature scraps. I don't have a ton, but I decided against it. I decided, no, I'm just going to keep going with what I had planned, because there's something very rustic about my plan here, and it's very simple and very mindless and very fun. So what I've been working on, and what this idea was just a little mitered square patchwork blanket. Many people call these the cozy memory blankets. I like the cozy memories blanket idea, sounds very cute too, but I also love the word patchwork. I think the word patchwork is just a special word to me, because it holds the meaning of cozy memories within it for me in a way, because just patchwork, just the sense I get from it, the feeling I get from it already contains cozy memories. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but of course cozy memories is also very cute and very fun as a name too. So whatever it is, regardless of what we're going to call it, here it is, my little blanket. I think last time I shared it with you, I just had these 3 squares, these 3 at the top here. And I had a miniature other square here, which I had cast on 2 few stitches and then knit the square, and it was just a little piece of a square. So I frogged that out this week. But I knit all the rest of these, which I guess I knit 5 squares this week. And it's been such a fun project for me. I don't know what it is, but it was just the perfect remedy. I was feeling like in a bit of a rut midweek and just didn't feel like picking up my knitting, which, is okay. That happens every once in a while, and I think that that's not a bad thing. Sometimes you just have to take a little pause and come back and return to it, but I picked up this project and just started knitting a square. And it was so fun, and it was so satisfying to have a little square finished. And then I did another one, and every couple of days I'm just working on it here and there and picking it up. And it's just been so much fun to work on this little patchwork square blanket. And I've made it now 5 squares wide for now, and then I'm doing the next row. And my plan is for now to kind of go a little while and see how it looks at this size, and then maybe expand it or double it. But I don't have a huge amount of scraps, and for now this blanket is just going to be, maybe a doll blanket, maybe eventually a baby blanket, but it's just a fun little project for my scraps. And I also just love the way it looks. It really looks so rustic to me and so cozy and so homey and very like handmade, if that makes sense. I think it's a really, really cute project. And I love the color combination so far. I think it's so I think honestly with these scrappy projects, the fun is even the mismatch. The fun is the kind of, jumbled, contained chaos almost as far as colors go in my mind. And that's what I love about some scrappy projects, when they're just kind of like chaos kind of ordered in some way. And I feel like that gives that. I have like a lot of purples over here right now in bluish tones, but this like green one kind of throws it off, and I'm excited to put another one of these kind of greenish squares over here because I have quite a bit more of this yarn, which is from a pair of socks that I knit a couple of years ago. And I still like this colorway so much. It was something tropical something. It was like kind of like a rainforest colorway, and it was just a regular sock yarn, but I think it's such a cool colorway, and I love the way the stripes show up. This one here I got a few of these from a little set I bought a long time ago, maybe like 6 or 7 years ago, of just mini skeins, mini sock, variegated speckled sock yarns for this project, because I thought I wanted to make like a patchwork blanket. And obviously that's not very cozy memories if it's not already, maybe it is. if you just the cozy memories of you knitting the blanket. But to me, I always thought this cozy memories name made me think of all the projects that you would then have scraps from and then put into the blanket, and all of those memories going into the blanket. So it's not like I have some cool project that reminds me of, but I think that they're really cute. And this one's a very bright, bright pink, a variegated kind of a tonal pink, which is absolutely beautiful and fits perfectly with this yarn. I feel like this, in fact, I think this pink in this kind of green yarn matches some of these pinks exactly. They're pretty much exactly the same, which is nice. Adds a little bit of cohesion there. And then this beautiful blue yarn is a gorgeous cashmere silk blend. Nylon free, just pure cashmere silk. And maybe there's like a little bit of merino in there, but it's a beautiful, beautiful yarn. And I loved knitting with this yarn. I knit a shawl for my grandmother with this yarn, and I loved working with it. It's super soft and super luxurious. And just, I think it looks just, it has a beautiful sheen and a drape, which is so pretty. And that kind of touch of softness among all of these kind of regular sock yarns is so much fun. This one in the corner is also cashmere. I think this is a merino nylon cashmere. But most of them are just sock yarns, like regular wool nylon blends. This one here is a BFL blend, I'm pretty sure. And this one, I didn't have enough for a full square, so I had to reuse some of this colorway, which I think this colorway is also very pretty, so it fits well. But this colorway, I also knit a pair of socks out of, and that's the BFL blend. But this colorway I remember was a Peter Rabbit colorway. It was named after Peter Rabbit. Maybe it was just called Peter Rabbit or something. But I loved it. And every time I put on my Peter Rabbit socks, it just gives me like joy, because I love everything about Beatrix Potter and her life and her books and just everything about her. I think she's a cool, amazing person, and the aesthetic of her books are just beautiful. I think her books are so stunning. I have quite a few books in Esmeralda's little library collection. Esmeralda's my daughter, who's just about 14 months old, so she's very little, but I have a lot of Beatrix Potter books that I've already collected secondhand, and she already loves to read them so much. Some of them are more, suited to little tiny readers than others, but she loves to point out the cats and the bunnies and the ducks, and there are lots of beautiful wildlife, animals, drawings, and illustrations there, which are so, so fun to look at and read. So I really love this little Peter Rabbit colorway. I think it's so cute. This colorway was another one from that little collection of minis, as was this one, but I think they both fit very well and they look super cool. Some kind of a nice variegated with blues. I think that brings in the blue from over here too a bit. Like I said, it's this chaotic look, which I think is cool, but I do like when there's a bit of cohesion. It's very satisfying to look at when there's a bit of like, consistency at some point throughout the blanket. So I'm very excited about this project. I think it's taking shape already. Like when I did the second row and I saw these, I could start to visualize how it's going to look as a little blanket. And I'm so excited about it. I think it's so, so cute. And even if it just ends up being a little doll blanket, I'm so happy with that. I think it's just a fun project and really a nice little breather or break when I'm in a rut of some kind, because both of my projects that I'm working on right now are cabled projects, and sometimes you just need something that's only knit stitches or just stockinette purely, and obviously there are decreases involved and lots of casting on and casting off, but otherwise this is a pretty mindless little project. So I've been really enjoying this, and unfortunately I don't have any cool bag to share with you that I'm carrying it in. I'm just carrying it in my little love knitting bag, which is packed full, also a very wild, disorganized jumble of minis and notes, and I don't even know what all is in this bag. This bag has been full for a long time, but as you can see, there's a big pouch of lavender in there. With my minis for a long time, I often would knit little bluebirds or little hearts or little shapes, little ornaments or stuffed animals, and so I liked to stuff those with lavender a lot of the time. And speaking of lavender, I want to thank you so much for those of you who gave tips and advice in regards to keeping the moths away in the mothy seasons, because I was really worried about that, and now I feel like I have some tools. I'm definitely going to be getting cedar blocks, cedar essential oil, and I'm going to use lavender essential oil too. I use lavender essential oil a lot in our home because I love the scent of lavender, and it's just so nice and relaxing, and I don't know, I just love lavender for all purposes. And obviously I have a ton of lavender. I have a lot of dried lavender here at home, and so maybe I'll even make a couple more little birds, or maybe I'll just use some of the ones I have and replenish the lavender inside of them and just put fresh lavender in them and pop them in all of my knitting bags so that I carry one along with me while I knit. But I do not want to get moths. I'm terrified of them, so I'm really, really excited to implement some of these moth prevention tactics soon, because it's just a nightmare to lose knitting. It really is. But anyway, this is my little patchwork project. The next thing I want to share with you is my Tudor Rose project. I'm sorry, I dropped a knitting needle. Oh, speaking of which, this, I will obviously link the pattern that was my kind of outline for my patchwork blanket below. Everything's linked below, including timestamps. If you want to go somewhere specific or jump over anything, you can look below. But I also cast on a different number than the pattern there suggests. I follow the pattern exactly, except for the fact that I cast on 40 stitches. So each one of these squares is 40 stitches. I think that the pattern has a different stitch count. It's a free pattern as well, and it's just a very basic mitered square pattern. You can pretty much use any patchwork mitered square pattern. A lot of them are very similar or the same. But anyway, so what I have to share with you now is my Tudor Rose project. The Tudor Rose book by Alice Starmore is where I'm getting this pattern. This pattern and project is the Elizabeth I pullover sweater, and I'm knitting this for the Tudor Rose Knit Along, which is a knit along that is being hosted by me, as well as two other knitting podcasters, Bella of 100 Acre Wool and Sophie of the Acre Creations podcast. We are knitting projects from this book, The Tudor Roses by Alice Starmore, the whole entire year of 2021. And you're free to join along with us. Please join along with us. There are such beautiful, beautiful patterns in this book, beautiful projects, garments, and there's also a beautiful kind of wrap here as well in this book. And it's just a stunning, stunning book with beautiful designs in it. So if you're interested at all, please join. Of course, linked below is all the information you need, a link to where you can find the book and all kinds of different things. But I've been knitting faithfully on my Elizabeth I. Mostly every evening I've been knitting on it the past week. Pretty much, yeah, I would say like an hour every evening. I've been knitting, slowly but surely making progress on this beautiful project, and I don't have any rush. I love the process of this project. I love just enjoying every stitch, working with this gorgeous yarn, which I'm absolutely just so in love with, absolutely in love with. And I've just enjoying it. 1 hour a night is just so fun. I sit down at the end of the day and I just knit away for an hour, and then I go to bed and do some reading and just fall asleep. It's like been the best nighttime routine, the most relaxing nighttime routine ever, I would say. I feel like knitting in the evening is one of the best ways to just kind of, for me, to recenter and kind of chill out and relax, especially if it's a project like this, which has a bit of interest, but is also not extremely elaborate or anything. I can knit this while I'm watching TV or while I'm listening to an audiobook or just listening to music and talking. It's really a beautiful, beautiful project. I am holding this project in my beautiful bag by Noble Character Crafts. And excuse the cat fluff on the bag, but it's so, so stunning, and it always makes me so happy to see it and to carry it with me. I think it's the perfect bag and the perfect size for a sweater project. I absolutely adore it. And since we last spoke, I've made, I would say, not a ton of progress, but definitely quite a bit. Enough that I'm very pleased with it. Like I said, this is no rush for me. This is definitely a process knit, even though I cannot wait to wear this piece and wear this pullover. I'm so excited about it. I know that right now it's not going to happen weather-wise. It's very nice and sunny out, and it's just getting warmer and warmer, so I know I'm not going to be able to wear it anyway. And that really makes me enjoy the process even more, because I know I'm not going to be able to wear it until autumn because it's just too warm. And so I'm hopefully going to have it done by then, and when it gets cold, I will be wearing it all the time. I can't wait. The sleeves on this project, everything about the shaping of this are just so gorgeous, so I'm definitely excited to have it finished, but for now, I'm just enjoying the process. So here I am so far. You can't see it that well. When it's blocked out, you'll be able to see properly how it looks because it's a little bit curling up at the bottom, but yeah, since we last chatted, I have knit quite a bit of this beautiful cabled center V. I think I was just about at the bottom last time, and I knit this beautiful, beautiful cabled design. Oh, I just absolutely love how it looks. I'm really, really, really pleased with how it looks. In fact, I like this result in real life more than I did on the pictures from the design. Obviously, the design is gorgeous. I loved how it looked. That's why I chose to knit it, but the way it looks in real life, after I knit it up, I was even more pleased and just in awe of the cabling and how it looks. It's just beautiful. It's simple but intricate. It's really, really something special. So I am so, so excited about this project. Please read that. You can see the extreme shaping just as I hold it here. Obviously, it's definitely going to look different when it's properly blocked and finished and cast off and obviously seamed together. But even before seaming, it'll look better. But there it is, my beautiful Elizabeth I, who I just adore and is probably one of the highlights of my knitting life so far, just working on this project. It's so gorgeous. And this yarn is the Virtual Yarns yarn, the Hebridean 2-ply yarn, which was very graciously sent to me by Virtual Yarns. And it's in the colorway Machair, which is an absolutely gorgeous, very rich green colorway. Oh, look at it, it's so, so pretty, I love it. Oh, I absolutely love it. And I have these beautiful stitch markers by Mitchkan, which I've shared before, but which just enrich my experience so much. These little lapis lazuli stones. And this little progress keeper, which I guess this is where I was last time, down here, because I tried to redo it every time I finish a podcast so that I can see how far I've knit in that time, which doesn't seem like much progress, but it's okay. Piece by piece, bit by bit, it is moving along and I'm enjoying it so immensely. So that's my Elizabeth I. I'd love to hear what you're working on, what you're inspired by right now as far as projects go, because right now I feel like I have a very clear mind in my knitting life. You know, sometimes I feel that my kind of knitting closet is full mentally and I have a lot of things going on and it's almost like it's not very clear and not very, I have lots of stuff going on. It almost is cluttered. And I don't like this feeling and I want to move away from that feeling. And thankfully right now, I feel like I'm definitely not in that place. I feel like I have a very clear space knitting wise. I have, a couple of primary projects that I'm working on, but it's very like simple and very clear. I don't know how to explain it, but it's a wonderful feeling and a wonderful place to be. So I hope I maintain that for a while. I do have a couple of projects that are hibernating right now and that I'm happy that they're hibernating. I have no problem with that. I've had other times also in my knitting career where I've had a project hibernating and have not felt right about it, have felt like I've kind of been procrastinating on it, but I don't feel that way about the projects I have right now that are kind of hibernating, sitting and waiting for me to knit on them again. There are just times for each thing and season for each project. I did have a bit of a crazy moment this week in my knitting life though, because my sock project, which I don't have with me right now, I forgot it, but you've seen it many times and I've not made much progress on it, which I knew would happen. When I get to the heel on a sock, it always takes me a while to just get through the heel. I don't know why that is, it just does. But I had knit the heel almost to completion, set it down on the chair, and I had gone out of the room for a moment and, don't judge me, but my 14-month-old got a hold of that sock and she ripped out the needles and she hid them. I didn't know where they were. She just took them. It was in her bedroom and I just left the room for a moment and I came back and it was just the empty stitches. She didn't unravel it at all. She just taken the needles out, both of the needles, and hid them somewhere. And I looked everywhere. I was like, Esmeralda, where did they go? Where did you put them? But they were just nowhere to be found. I could not find them anywhere. It was really I was like, okay, you know what? I'm going to take a break from these socks right now. This is just what's going to happen. And I waited. And sure enough, a couple of days later, I sat down in that same chair because often for a little while during the day, we'll sit down and she'll just play independently and I'll knit, and it's one of our favorite times of the day. She enjoys it, I enjoy it. We just listen to the birds singing out the window, or occasionally we'll listen to like music, but it's just a very quiet, nice time. But she came out from somewhere and brought me a knitting needle. And it was just one of my needles from my socks. And I was like, okay, this is so crazy. And I was like, where did you get the other? Where's the other one? And the other one I just found somewhere then. I guess I found it maybe on the floor. I don't know where I even found it, but now I have both of them. So I can continue knitting on that sock. I was knitting, I don't know what happened to all of my double pointed needles, my double pointed sock needles, but I don't have them. I think they're in my stash, like packed away. And I just have like, because I mostly knit my socks on 9-inch circular needles. So I just usually carry a set, like 2 double pointed needles with me to knit my socks, so that I can knit the heel and do the Kitchener on the toe at the end. But I just didn't search for them, and I just didn't feel like it. After this moment when I lost those needles, I just didn't feel like looking for them. But now that both of them are recovered back miraculously, I can continue on those socks, and I will, because I love them. They're beautiful. It's just that the heel just takes me, I don't know why, I just have this block with heels. I don't know why, but it is what it is. That's okay. I haven't made much progress on that sock, except for the heel, which was almost done, and hopefully by next time we'll be done as well. But anyway, those are my 2 main knitting projects. I have a little bit of a knitting project plan to share with you. It's kind of just the next project that I want to cast on, and I'm hoping to cast on soon, because I have seen so many beautiful, gorgeous summer knitwear projects that people have been making. Beautiful t-shirts and blouses and summery sweaters and wraps, things knit out of like linen blends and cotton blends and silk, and just very drapey, cool, beautiful knitted pieces. And it's so hard when you see pieces like this and you're just like, oh, I want to knit something like that too. But I haven't done anything for myself in that regard. I haven't like bought yarn. I don't have very much yarn like in my stash, like silk or linen or cotton, any of these kind of summery blends or anything like that. I don't have that in my stash really. I have like 100% cotton yarn, but that's it. But I have wanted to knit something that's summery because I've been so inspired. And so I'm sticking to my plan, and I'm going to knit something that I had already wanted to knit for a while, but I had forgotten about for a couple of months, until going back and looking at my Make 9 2021 board again and seeing the kind of plans I had set out for myself. And one of the projects that I had in mind as a goal to knit at the beginning of the year is a summer knit. It's a summer dress for a little girl. And so I'm wanting to knit Esmeralda a little summer dress this year. And I found some yarn, which is really, really beautiful. I got it because of the gorgeous colorway. It's Rowan Summer 4-ply, Summer Light 4-ply, which is just 100% cotton yarn. Very simple, but it's very soft. It's got this kind of like brushed cotton feeling to it. It's very, very soft. Not like I have another bit of 100% cotton yarn in my stash, which is a bit more rough or just kind of more solid and not very soft like this is. This is just a very, very beautiful, soft finish. But I had gotten it because I thought the colorway was so beautiful, and I think it would suit Esmeralda very, very well. I think this colorway would just suit her very well. It's really pretty. It's just like a periwinkle blue, beautiful, beautiful periwinkle color. The colorway might even be called actually periwinkle officially, although it's nowhere on the ball band. It's just absolutely beautiful. So this is Summer Light 4-ply by Rowan, and I just love Rowan's labels. I love the way that Rowan yarn looks. I think it's super gorgeous. There's something about Rowan yarn which is just absolutely like luxurious to me and gorgeous. And I love just the branding of Rowan. So I'm really, really excited to knit with this. I have 3 little balls, so I have 150 grams, but the dress that I'm knitting just calls for that much, so it should be enough. The dress I'm knitting is, I think, called the Angel Dress, and I will put the pattern and the pattern designer all below in the description box, but it is a pattern on Knitting for Olive, the website. They have such gorgeous patterns, also for children. Beautiful sweaters and dresses, and just such cute pieces for little babies and little girls and also little boys. So it's just little children can go and be dressed by these beautiful knitwear pieces. Every time I go in there and I see the children's knit section, I'm so inspired to knit just little tiny knits because they're so cute and so adorable. So I'm really excited to knit the angel dress for Esmeralda for the summer. And I think I really need to cast this on soon because, I mean, it's already May. It's almost June. I mean, once it's June, it's summer. For me, it's really summer is June, July, August. I mean, that is like officially summer, right? But in some places it feels like it's already summer now, and in some places it feels like it's still winter, actually. Spring is precarious. These in-between seasons are just kind of like always a little bit of like a blurred line. But I need to knit this soon for her so that when it gets warm, she can wear it, and it's a really, really cute dress. I'll put a photo of it here so that you can see how it looks, but I'm so excited about it, and I think this colorway is going to be so beautiful. So I'm really excited about knitting that, the little angel dress. I think it's called the angel dress. It might not even be called the angel dress, but I will correct myself if it's not called the angel dress. But really, those are all my knits this week. Those are all of my knitting plans. I love to hear what you're knitting, what you're making, and what your plans are creatively. This week, I've also been really into a couple of other things. So I'm going to talk about that now, talk about personal things now. If you're just here for the knitting, then thank you so much for watching. It was so lovely to have you. And if you're interested in hearing more of different other kind of topical things, here we go. I'm excited to share with you. So what I also wanted to share with you was the book I've been reading this last week, which I haven't shared much about reading. I think I shared a couple of times a couple of books I was reading, but I felt like I had kind of lost my reading mojo for a while. And that's okay, but I love books and I love to be reading. I feel like something's missing if I'm not in a good book. I think that the time that reading gives is also just so restful and so wonderful. So this week I got my reading mojo so incredibly back. I've almost finished this book after a couple of days. It's not very long, so that's not saying very much, but in the past year, it's taken me a good few weeks to finish a book, which, you know, is what it is, but I was really excited to finish a book quickly. It was such a good feeling. So I've been reading this book called Losing Eden, Why Our Minds Need the Wild by Lucy Jones. And this is a book that I heard about because she kind of was interviewed by Laura Brand of the Joy Journal on Instagram. And if you don't follow her on Instagram, you should definitely check it out if you're into kind of nature, slow living kind of things, and or if you have children and you are interested in kind of hands-on play and activities and education. She talks a lot about really cool kind of nature crafts, also just for adults, like really cool DIY craft kind of things that are naturally based, and also just using things that you have at home. She has lots of cool things that I want to try to make, and I'm always inspired when I see her Instagram page. But she did interviews last week with 3 different people, I don't know, writers, people to do with nature and mental health. And one of those interviews was with Lucy Jones, who is the writer of this book. And I was so inspired by all that they said, and hearing it, I just listened to it while I cooked dinner, and it was so inspiring. I really wanted to read her book. So I immediately got it, which is a huge treat, and I have not put it down since then. It was just a couple of days ago. But basically this book is just about nature and how important our connection with nature is for our mental and physical health, and how that's kind of being lost and is lost on a very practical, tangible level in the modern age as we become more civilized, more, we're moving into cities more and more as the human race is just moving into cities more and more away from the natural world, and our connection is lost from it. And I was just so struck because, quite honestly, when I go on a forest walk, the amount of plants and animals or bird sounds or flowers that I can name and recognize and identify is so, so few. And the amount that my husband can't identify is so few. And, a couple of generations ago, it would have been completely different it's just been like a gradual kind of divorce from our connection with nature and our ability to be in nature and feel at home in nature. And this book is very much about the importance of that connection and how that losing of that connection can be detrimental to us. And even in fact, like there are just chapters in this book that are so interesting about, evidence-based need for our just touching soil and looking at a tree, and that the shapes in nature, the fractal shapes in nature, which is what they're like called, the fractal shapes are restful for the human mind, because the human eye contains is a fractal shape itself, and so it recognizes itself. Anyway, it's just super, super interesting. And how just being in nature and hearing nature and smelling the actual oils that the earth releases into the air before it rains can be calming for the nervous system, and how there's a certain bacteria, I'm gonna say it wrong, but there's a certain bacteria in soil that when you touch it and intake it, it can it just does such positive things for your microbiome in your body, that your immune system is improved. And it's just so interesting to read, and it's been such an interesting read. So I hope this hasn't been too boring for you, but it's such a good book. I really recommend it. And I also just recommend going outside if you have access to it. I know that not everyone has access to nature in any capacity. It's hard. Not everyone has access to that. Right now, especially, a lot of us are just not able to leave our vicinities and to get to nature. But the importance of it, the importance of looking, touching, smelling, feeling nature is cannot be overstated, I think. And this book has just taught me so much and kind of just confirmed what I intuitively knew and felt. I've always had a draw to just nature and to animals and to wildlife. And it's just so important to be around it and to also have that relationship with it in some way for our physical health also, as not only our mental health. So, my dream is to move to a farm and have goats and have chickens and just to live on the farm. And I love seeing, that's one thing I love about social media, is that I get to vicariously live through people who really live that kind of life, who are homesteaders or farmers or just gardeners, because I, living in an apartment, don't have a garden. I have a little balcony, which is a huge blessing, and a little kind of area where a kind of raised bed, which I like to plant a ton of herbs in, and that's really fun. And I'm really, really blessed because we live just a block away from the woods, which is amazing and really a huge gift. But it's really, there's nothing like being in nature. So if that's the kind of thing you're interested in at all, you should definitely read this book. I will link it below. And I've just been so inspired by nature and so itching now to spend as much time as I can. Also with Esmeralda, just in nature, or even just in grass, letting her crawl around, letting her eat dirt, letting her pick flowers, just enjoying the natural world and not trying to stop her from that. I also, that was been for me an intuitive thing in my own life. My mom was never my mom loved it. She let us get muddy, play in the mud and play in the dirt and play in the rain and the puddles. And I didn't even know, but this book has taught me too, how absolutely valuable that is for the human mind and the human body, also for children, how healthy that is. But I feel even more justified and happy not to hold her back from getting messy and playing and getting dirty. It's just such a wonderful, wonderful thing. And just being in creation is amazing. So this has been a long talk about that. I hope it's not boring to you, but I'd love to hear about you. If when you go into nature, you feel a sense of calm or a sense of peace, or if you've ever noticed that as you've gone into a kind of natural space, or even just around natural things, if you're a gardener or any kind of, if you like those kinds of things, if you have felt a connection to that at all. I think it also applies a lot to knitting, because knitting is often, especially when you knit with natural fibers, a kind of connection to that natural world as well. But anyway, I digress. Let me know what you think. I think that's all I have to share with you. I hope that you're having a wonderful week. I'd love to hear what you're thinking, what you're doing, what you're inspired by right now. And I'm really looking forward to chatting with you again next week. If you would like to get in touch with me, you can write in the comments below, or you can write to me either on Ravelry or on Instagram. You can find me on Instagram as Merryweather Knitting, and you can find me on Ravelry as gabriellak. There's also a Ravelry knitting group for this podcast called Merryweather Knitting, and you can join there as well. I'd love to hear your thoughts, and you can just chat over there as well. If you are wanting to participate in the Tudor Rose knit along, you can post under the hashtag Tudor Rose KAL, and you can be entered to win prizes there. You can also write in my podcast group. I also have a thread there, and it's very fun to see what people are making and knitting and working on with these projects. Bella and Sophie also have their own Ravelry groups, which have amazing activity in them too. So you can feel free to join all of them. The more the merrier, double dip in everything. It's just really fun. This knit along has been such a joy, and it's really so special. So anyway, I wish you a wonderful, wonderful week. I can't wait to see you again next time. Take care. Bye.